Alright everybody, welcome to Learning Motocross on MX Bikes. This is Hot Springs Ranch, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was trying some setup stuff, but it didn't really gel too well with me. This track is got some major jumps and big floaty booters. Super fun to hit them, but as far as training for motocross, it just didn't work well with me, but that's the purpose. You learn best when you struggle. So if you don't know, the way that I do things is I give myself two 30-minute motos to learn the track and just see where I end up at the end. And this is one of those big jump booters. I will say, I mean, there's a lot of lines in this one that are really fun. This was the first complete lap that I was trying to learn, and so you're trying to find your speed for the jumps and learning what the ruts look like in the corners and everything like that. So, but I did struggle right out the gate, and I said, I don't know how this is gonna go. So there was one corner in particular that really gave me a lot of grief. I ended up in this daggone lake so many times. I would overjump, I would underjump, and I would bounce over. Just very frustrating. Very frustrating. And, but that's the way it goes sometimes. So finishing out the first full lap, I ended up with a 3:07.3. Now, this was my fastest lap of the entire first moto. I was on an old setup, and this is a setup that I've been using for a long time, and I did find another setup for the second moto to try out, and we'll see how that went. But I think that what I'm gonna have to start doing, and I've seen Lenz and other guys do this in the past, is when you make mistakes, go into the replay editor and see what the bike is doing to try and fix those mistakes. Because a lot of times it is a setup issue. You got to have your traction to get through these motocross tracks, and apparently I don't know how to turn, so that doesn't help either. But I did start to feel a bit more comfortable near the end of the first moto, but I had a long ways to go. Because I was struggling, I said, well, let me at least have some fun and throw a backflip over that big jump. That was maybe one of my favorite jumps in the entire track. It's massive. You can do some cool stuff off of it, but coming over this big jump here, step up. This section was very weird. It's a split lane into like supercross section, which is not expected, but it is welcome. But I will say that when you have a motocross oriented setup, supercross is a bit more difficult, and but it'd be very difficult to ride motocross with a supercross setup. I think we'll see later in the second moto, but I started going to the left there and jumping into the corner, but this wall jump kind of weird thing right here was giving me some grief throughout it. I think with speed you can jump over and land down on that, but a 209.5 was our ideal at that point. This is into the second moto here, probably a little over halfway through. As you can see on my ideal lap board over there, my best time at this point was a 2:12.0, but the ideal time was a 2:05.3, and that was kind of the theme on this track. I could put segments together, but I was having a hard time putting the entire lap together, and that's exactly what the purpose of the series is. I want to be able to consistently put laps together, and but the bike on this setup, it felt a lot better. It felt more planted. It wasn't so twitchy, and I feel almost like the the first setup, the old setup that I was running, was almost more supercross oriented. And like I was saying, it's hard to run a supercross setup on motocross. You can run a motocross setup on supercross, you're going to struggle, but it's easier to run, in my personal opinion, a motocross setup on supercross than vice versa. So, I had figured the track out a bit more at this point. I was probably 45 minutes into riding at this point. I decided that going this way, tripling into the supercross section, triple, and then triple out into the sand was the best way for me. I don't know what is the fastest, but for me that worked out better. It was getting off the table was a bit weird sometimes. What I did decide was I was not gonna send it down the hill. I was gonna check up, take my time a little bit, and not get overzealous. I still never figured out this wall jump deal or this line here, how to get enough speed to go over that, but a 209.1, so that was a big improvement there. Now, this is the last lap I did, last full lap, and my ideal time at this point was a 204.7. Now, my best time was a 207.757. Again, that's 3 seconds off of my ideal time. I was making mistakes. I wasn't putting it together like I should have. But I did feel quite a bit accomplished at the end of this. I ran out of tear-offs because I was impatient and kept pulling tear-offs. I think somebody had told at one point that typically you get 28 tear-offs, so that's one a minute. Apparently I was pulling more than that, and probably 2 or 3 a lap, and I ran out, and that happens. But I almost felt like I rode better with the dirt on the screen, so maybe that's something I need to look into. Just don't pull a tear off and keep riding. I was able to figure this out into the corner. I don't think it was all that much faster, but it was definitely more flowy, more consistent if you're trying to do that. I did hit the table on off section into a triple and then triple into the sand section. The sand is very soft, so you're but you have a chance of getting bucked around a little bit. Into this last corner that kept giving me a lot of grief. Again, check up. Don't try to get too crazy with it. I definitely was geared up too high coming out of that, so I didn't get up on top of the table out of the corner. But I almost took myself out there, and back around to the finish line jump. But again, I think that I'm gonna grow during the times that I struggle the most, and that's exactly what happened during Supercross. I'm much more comfortable in Supercross than I used to be, and it's a learning process, and you're not going to be Jet Lawrence right out the gate, or Deegan, or what have you. Which, by the way, I'm recording this about 6 minutes before the gate drop on Pala, and I cannot wait to see what happens there. But I hope you guys are enjoying. I hope you're watching. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll be doing more of these. And as always, God bless, guys.